Hello, for quite a while now I've wanted to have a playlist on my YouTube channel that teaches a wide range of self-hypnosis applications, some techniques for enhancing well-being using self-hypnosis. So in coming weeks I'm going to be doing just that, offering lots of different techniques and strategies to combine with self-hypnosis. However, those videos are unlikely to be useful or stimulating if you don't know how to engage in the self-hypnosis process to begin with. Of course, one great way of learning is to grab a copy of my book, The Science of Self-Hypnosis, the evidence-based way to hypnotize yourself. I'll also put a link on this page, wherever you're watching this video, or in the comments section below, to a roadmap document that you can download for free, which will give you a kind of a written version of lots of what I'm talking about in this video. Lots of what I'm going to be talking about today, the process in particular. So today I thought I'd talk you through and give you a bit of a crash course, if you like, and talk you through the self-hypnosis process that I recommend and teach, and that is informed by research. I published a peer-reviewed journal article last year that offered up the first ever systematic review and meta-analysis of clinical applications of self-hypnosis. And this is the process that advances the chances of success according to that review. The 6 steps are simply this: you adopt the hypnotic mindset, you induce hypnosis, you deepen self-hypnosis, you apply the hypnotic skill or engage in the process that is the focus of that particular session, then you exit self-hypnosis, and then you reflect and ratify and develop. So step 1, you adopt the hypnotic mindset. When you're practicing the self-hypnosis skills, you want to be sat in an upright, receptive posture with a straight back, crown of your head pointing towards the ceiling. Ideally, do not lie down or slouch, unless you're looking to go to sleep. Be attentive and receptive while you're learning these skills. So we conceptualize hypnosis in terms of a hypnotic mindset. I've got a video on that. And this mindset consists of factors such as belief, imagination, expectation, attitudes to hypnosis, motivation, depth of role involvement. By adopting this mindset, you become more responsive to the hypnotic suggestions you'll be giving yourself. So hypnosis simply means a set of attitudes and behaviors that mediate hypnotic responses. The mindset consists of positive attitudes which can potentially facilitate and enhance self-hypnosis for you and aid imaginal absorption and engagement with the suggestions that you'll be giving yourself when you're underway. So the hypnotic mindset, put simply, can be seen as being motivated to be hypnotized, being confident in your ability to respond, being optimistic about the process, and expecting to automatically experience the responses being suggested. If you do those things, you'll tend to respond better because you are in the right mindset for self-hypnosis. Therefore, when you are using self-hypnosis and you tell yourself that your eyelids feel really heavy, as we're going to be doing later on in this video, expect that to happen. Then do all you can to make that your reality and make believe that they are closing all by themselves. So we'll begin the hypnosis with an induction that's going to involve eye fixation. Simply recognize that the hypnotic induction, that's the cue to adopt your hypnotic mindset. Start to actively imagine the things that are being suggested as vividly as you're able. Focus on the suggestions and make them your reality as much as you can. Be relaxed throughout. There's no success or failure. There's no need to put excess conscious effort in. Just imagine the things being suggested are your reality. Convince yourself of them. Then make believe that they are happening all by themselves. So, be motivated to develop this skill. Recognize that you are an active agent in the process. And like I said earlier, don't try too hard. Likewise, don't be too passive. Just relax and imagine things as vividly as you can, making them your own reality. So this is a skill that you'll get better at when you adopt this favorable mindset. I'm kind of laboring that. There's a video on my YouTube channel that goes into that separately if you want to look at that. But once you've adopted this mindset, you now induce self-hypnosis. So step 2 is we're going to do the eye fixation induction process. And there are 2 main reasons for the fixed gaze technique. Firstly, it induces a feeling of sleepiness by closing the eyes slowly. And secondly, it creates a sense of intense concentration through staring. So after developing this technique, James Braid found that most people's eyes would close within 20 to 30 seconds if they follow the instructions properly. Make that your aim. The main factors are that firstly, you must use your imagination to make your eyes feel like closing. And secondly, you must keep your gaze absolutely fixed in a position which makes the eyes feel tired. And ideally without deviating from that particular fixed spot that you're going to stare at. And these can be called complementary behavioral and cognitive strategies. So behaviorally, the eye fixation, have a physical posture that resembles that of someone who is concentrating very intently and then falling asleep. This behavioral strategy can be broken down. So first of all, you stare intently as if completely absorbed in a single point. Second, allow your eyes to close very slowly, as if you're falling asleep and struggling to keep them open. Adopt that role. And then thirdly, relax your body completely and remain still and silent, acting as if you are falling asleep. Then fourth, allow your breathing to relax. Imagine it becoming more slow, regular and shallow. You can think of yourself as an actor, behaving in such a way as to mimic somebody falling asleep and the eyes closing accordingly. And cognitively, at the same time, use a kind of mental strategy to increase the physical response. Rather than closing your eyes as normal, therefore, use your imagination to make your eyes feel like closing. It doesn't matter how you do this. You might use memories, mental images, imagined sensations or verbal sensations or suggestions that you say to yourself in your mind. So there are some typical strategies which lots of people use. First of all, you might simply remember what it feels like when your eyes are very tired and you can't keep them open, and then relive that feeling as much as possible. Secondly, you might imagine that you've been staring for hours and that your eyes are incredibly tired and they just want to close. Thirdly, you might imagine that your eyelids are somehow growing bigger and heavier and want to just close down. Or fourth, you might imagine that there are little weights pulling your eyelids down. Or fifth, imagine that a bright light is shining in your eyes, or that a breeze is blowing in them, making them want to close, and aiding you in triggering the blink reflex. Finally, you might just tell yourself in your mind, my eyes are growing heavy, sleepy and tired. They're closing. And then repeat these or any other words that you find useful in the right manner and convince yourself, create your reality. When using verbal suggestions to yourself, you should use a tone of voice in your imagination, which evokes the feelings that you want. If you want to relax, then use a soothing voice. If you want to feel energized, use a motivating voice. And say it like you mean it. Have confidence and expectation in everything you do. Expectation is vital. Don't try to fight your imagination, and don't treat the eyes closing as if it's an endurance event. Just let your eyelids close by themselves. People can sometimes become a little bit tense when they're doing this for the first few times, so it helps to perhaps pause when your eyelids have closed and just focus on relaxing the muscles around your eyes and your eyelids for a little while, then your face and then your entire body. So to recap, once you've adopted this hypnotic mindset, engage in the eye fixation process at the beginning of every self-hypnosis session. You'll pick a spot on the wall or the ceiling in front of you. Then without raising your head, raise your eyes up. So you raise your gaze up until it becomes very slightly uncomfortable to maintain your gaze on that particular spot. Then you'll look steadily at that spot in a highly focused fashion in order to hypnotize yourself. Relax and focus your attention throughout, and then gradually you engage in self-hypnosis. And do your best just to concentrate on that spot and imagine vividly that your eyelids are getting tired and heavy. Convince yourself, believe it to be happening. Tell yourself that they're getting heavy. Adopt the role, that is, act as if they're getting heavy, and then just let your eyes close nicely. So, you're just going to focus on that target, pay attention to how the target or the spot on the wall changes, how the shadows play around it, how it sometimes is fuzzy, sometimes clear. Whatever you see is okay. You just keep staring at that spot, telling yourself, convincing yourself that your eyelids are heavier, more tired, and that you want them to close. And after a while, you'll have stared long enough. You've convinced yourself that your eyes feel very tired and you wish strongly that they were closed, and then they will close as if by themselves. And when this happens, just let it happen. Let it happen. Once your eyes are closed, you then move on to the next step. Step 3, which is to deepen your experience of self-hypnosis. And what do we mean by deepen? What does that mean? First, let me say to you, you want to keep aware and engaged. Okay, so to deepen does not mean to be zonked out and forget where you are or what your name is. You don't want to nod off or fall asleep. That's not useful. Hypnotic deepening techniques, there's a kind of widely held assumption shared by many members of the public and even many hypnotherapists that deepening involves relaxation and sleepy feelings. But that's little more than a common misconception, really. If someone is so relaxed that they can hardly move a muscle, they're unlikely to respond as well to suggestions of being energized or motivated or enthusiastic as someone who is in an active and alert and focused psychophysiological state already. So that's the reason that alert hypnosis is often preferred by modern hypnotists when motivating depressed clients or sporting performance. Most deepeners used by self-hypnosis fall into a variety of categories, depending on what they seem to primarily be trying to deepen or increase. And these categories involve being deeply absorbed, being highly focused or dissociated, as well as being relaxed. When deepening your experience of self-hypnosis, make it your aim to become focused, deeply absorbed, develop your hypnotic mindset further, and that will serve you best. So to start with though, just use a really basic counting deepener. This is whereby you simply count down in your imagination from 10 to 0 or from 20 to 0. Imagine that with each number that you count, that your body and mind are relaxing much more deeply, or that you are becoming and being much more uplifted, or that you are walking down some steps with each count. Focus on the idea of advancing your focus or your relaxation, for example, very deeply by the time that you reach 0. And you can repeat this part of the process if you wanted. You can do it a couple of times in order to deepen and absorb yourself further and really create expectation and so on. And tell yourself throughout that this is helping you to become more absorbed in the hypnosis process while being positive, adopting the role of this self-hypnotist. While counting, tell yourself that you're becoming more deeply hypnotized, believe it, and don't let stuff disturb you. So you've adopted the hypnotic mindset, you've induced hypnosis, you've deepened the self-hypnosis. Now the fun part. Step 4 is the skills exercise or the hypnotic phenomena. And what do we mean by hypnotic phenomena? Well, this is our effect. The effect that we're going to create within the hypnosis session. With stage hypnotists, for example, they may create effects of people believing that they're someone else. With hypnotherapists, they create effects of being free of habits, for example. With us here, to start with, we're going to create an effect that is you believe that a pen is stuck to your hand. Really useful life skill. The pen being stuck to your hand is our aim, and you believing it is so. That's the hypnotic phenomena. That's the effect that you aim to create in this first skills exercise. So in practical terms, you're going to raise your arm out in front of you, totally straight at the shoulder, with the pen in your fingers and thumb pointed downwards like it is here. This is how you position your arm. You'll obviously have your eyes closed and you'll most likely be sat down. So in a sense, the ideal hypnotic response to the suggestion can be compared to the ability to become deeply absorbed in the content of a story, so much that it evokes physical and emotional reactions. Here, you make the responses that are suggested, that the pen is stuck to your hand, but you pay no attention to the fact that you're making the suggestion. Instead, you just devote your full, undivided and continuous attention to the suggestions and believing in the suggestion that the pen is stuck, okay? Then create that reality, make it your reality. Imagine it's happening all by itself. Your job is to do everything that is required of someone making believe such a thing. You've got to lift your arm up and you've got to imagine that the pen is stuck to your hand. And anything else you wish to imagine that is consistent with such a make-believe situation. Now, of course, the pen will not really be stuck to your hand by itself. You must make it happen, and you must believe that it is happening in reality. You can make it feel like it's stuck to your fingers all by itself by focusing on the make-believe situation, that your fingers are locked in place and that the pen is truly stuck to your fingers and thumb. So cognitively, within your mind, mentally, you focus your attention upon the expectant, dominant idea of the pen being stuck in your hand and the fingers and thumb being locked around it, holding it in place. Imagine it to be stuck, make believe that it is so. Relax and convince yourself of it. Use the elements of the hypnotic mindset and expect the outcome to occur, adopt the role. Behaviorally, you simply voluntarily lift your arm nice and slowly, hold the pen, imagine it's locked and shut in place, while imagining that it's happening of its own accord. So, adopt the role. Behave as if this is your absolute reality. Behave as if it is really happening. Act and believe in your acting. Believe that your acting is actually happening all by itself. Imagine it being stuck. Make it your reality that it is stuck. Believe it, undeniably convince yourself. Okay. Then once you're sure it's stuck, test it and move on. You only need to have created the effect for a short while at first. Imagine that the pen unsticks itself and drop the pen, imagine it, drop it, let your arm move gently back down into your lap to where it began. I've mentioned this a couple of times, I've kind of alluded to the effort error. A number of experts have observed a paradoxical tendency for people to become more tense when they're trying so hard to create any kind of hypnotic effect, such as sticking the pen to their hand. And this is known as the effort error, or the law of a reversed effect. Do not try too hard to make things happen. Do not exert excess physical or mental effort. Just gently believe the outcome will happen and then believe it happening all by itself. Be gently assured of it. Then we have our step 5. We exit. We exit self-hypnosis. Before exiting, you thank yourself, you be appreciative of yourself. It's a lovely thing to do, to invest time and energy in yourself, in your own psychological development. So you can then exit by simply taking a couple of deeper breaths, wiggling your fingers and your toes, and opening your eyes and orienting yourself. If you want to be a bit more thorough, then you count from 1 to 5 to yourself in your mind. You can say something along the following lines. When I count 1, I have full control and flexibility and coordination throughout my entire body, from the tips of my toes to the top of my head, from the tips of my fingers and thumbs to my shoulder, my entire body. And any feelings of lightness or heaviness return to their true and correct sense of perspective. When I count 2, I position myself back in the place where I started with the hypnosis, remembering and recalling what was to my left and right, above and below me, remembering and recalling some features of the place. When I count 3, all sounds return to their true and correct perspective and have their true levels of importance. When I count 4, I'm keeping and bringing with me all the wonderful benefits of this particular hypnotic session, and all of the belief in my hypnotic skills. When I count 5, I just open my eyes to be emerged from hypnosis. And you then count from 1 through to 5. Open your eyes, take some deep breaths with some purpose, wiggle your fingers and so on. If you can't remember all of those steps or all of that kind of verbiage, simply count from 1 through to 5, take some deep breaths, reorient yourself with your surroundings. So then, step 6, we want to ratify and reflect and feedback to ourselves. So once you're out of self-hypnosis, you want to then encourage yourself and build upon what you've just done. Identify and highlight what went well. Give yourself some praise and heighten your belief that you can get better. It's proven that you can. Create more positive expectancy for the next skill that you practice, the next session you have. Reflect upon what you did in that session, maybe even highlight anything you may have missed or you could have done better so that you can fine-tune your skills for the next time you practice it. Be progressive with yourself, be supportive, encourage yourself in the same way that you'd encourage a loved one to do anything better as well. And then it's time for you to practice. You go ahead and you do the following. You adopt the hypnotic mindset. You induce hypnosis using eye fixation. You deepen by counting from 10 down to 0 or 20 down to 0. And then you hold the pen, you do the skill, the application, hold the pen in your hand, extend it, stick it to your hand. Once you've tested that it's stuck, you cancel the suggestions, you drop the pen. Then you exit hypnosis by counting from 1 to 5, and then finally you reflect upon what you did well and what you believe you can do even better next time. So you practice this particular process, develop the skill, and you'll be in a wonderful position to then start using the applications that I'm going to be sharing here in some videos in the coming weeks. That's it for today. Do subscribe to this channel. Do go visit my college website for more information about my classroom-based and online courses and my members area. It's a paradise for hypnosis geeks. Goodbye for now.